Hey guys, welcome back, welcome to my channel. Today's video is kind of like a part 2 of my how I revised for my GCSEs, except this time I'm just going to be talking about GCSE drama because I have a lot to say about it. If you want to know my personal opinion on drama, then I have quite a few videos on that already, because in this video I'm just going to be going over how I went from a 3 in around November to an 8 or a 9 in my final mock in like April, May, which meant that I ended up getting a 9 in my final overall GCSE grade. I did AQA GCSE drama, so maybe not all the theory tips will be applicable to every single exam board, but I hope that it can be generally universal when it comes to things like the acting tips. And I just did the acting aspect of drama, so I think you can do different sides such as set design, costume study, things like that, but I just did acting. Okay, so the AQA GCSE drama exam is split into 3 different parts. You have your theory, you have your scripted, and you have your devised. So I'm going to talk about theory first because it is the longest thing, and that is split into 3 parts itself. So you have the multiple choice at the beginning, which is very short, very quick, and then you have your live theatre review, and you also have your set text study. Multiple choice, as I said, is very quick, very easy. It's only about 3 or 4 marks. So if you revise for this really well, then you should be set for this and all the other questions, because they all kind of do link. You have to know your drama terminology really well and the workings of a theatre and things like that. All the multiple choice questions will kind of be things like, what kind of lighting is this? What kind of stage is this? What is the role of the director in a theatre? Like I said, as long as you know your terminology, then you should be completely fine for this question. The way I revise for this is using flashcards. I literally use flashcards for everything. So for drama flashcards, what I do is I'd write the description of one thing on the back and then the definition on the front, like normal. So for example, I'd write a type of staging, and then on the back I'd draw like a diagram of that stage. And as I said, if you know all of this very well, you will be set for section B, which I'll talk about now. So section B is your set text study, and my class did The Crucible by Arthur Miller, so I think a lot of my examples will be very geared towards that play, but hopefully you can just take those tips and apply it to the play that you're studying. There are 4 questions in this section. So you have number 1, design question worth 4 marks, number 2, which is a question about a single line, which is worth 8 marks, and then you have number 3, which is about a shaded part of an extract worth 12 marks, and then your final question is about the whole extract as well as the whole play, and that's worth 16 marks. The design question will ask you to design the set or the lighting or the costume or even the puppetry, anything like that about the given extract. So my mistake that I did when I got a 3 in my mock was that I did the set design for the whole play. You don't have to do that. You just have to do the set design for the extract you've been given. The advice I have for this question, which is honestly the same for every single other question, is just so much detail. You had to put so much detail to get into that top band. What I would say is, for example, if you're talking about costume, you cannot just say, I'd make him wear a shirt, trousers and shoes, because that might give you like 1 measly mark. But to get all 4 marks, you have to talk about the length, the material, the buttons, like the stitching, and also make sure you talk about context in everything you do. For example, The Crucible was set in a Puritan village, so anytime I was designing the costume, I'd always say the material would be like Hessian or something like that, and it would be browns, whites, because those are very simple, like conservative colours that match the Puritan values of the 15 or 1600s. I haven't done this play in a while, so I can't really remember when it was set, but you know, you like add so much contextual detail along with actual physical detail. Something my teacher made us do, which is actually very helpful, is to split the play into well, mine was split into acts, but if yours was split into scenes, take every single scene and just design the set, the costume, the lighting for every single one of those, the puppetry as well. And that way, because you already kind of planned out everything, no matter what question you get in the exam, you'll already have like a pre-prepared answer. The next 3 questions are all quite similar. They'll ask you how you would act if you were a certain character in the play. Like I said, it's split into, like, first you just have to describe how you'd act out a line, then how you'd act out a whole shaded part of the extract, and then how you'd act in the extract and the play as a whole. Here, just again, make sure you know your drama terminology to a T, and also just describe every little thing you say you're going to do. You can't just say, I would walk quickly. That is not good enough for GCSE drama standards, apparently. You have to say something like, I would walk briskly from downstage left to downstage right, with my arms hanging limply by my sides, with my head tilted at 40, that's okay, the 45-degree angle is a bit much, but everything before that is exactly what they want you to say. I think something that helped me a lot is just add an adverb after every verb, so you can get that exact detail across of how you're going to do something. What my teacher said to me is, if the examiner were to read your piece and then couldn't picture what you were picturing, it's not detailed enough. So similar to the first question, you also want to contextualize what you're doing in this scene, but maybe rather than like the historical context, you want to put the context into the play. For example, if one person is being bitter towards another character, you have to talk about why they're being bitter, because that just shows that you understand the play rather than maybe just quickly skimming the book and thinking, oh, I'll just make him bitter here. Like, it shows that you have deeper understanding of the background behind the play and things like that. Apart from the flashcards with terminology, the way I revised for this was I would take my set text, I'd flip through the book, any random point, and I would set a timer because I always found the drama time limit really constraining, so this helped me with that as well. But basically I'd pick a page randomly, and then for every single line I would like write a vocal, a physical and a facial expression that character would do when they said that. That way, anytime any question, any exam came up, I would kind of already know what I would have done for that. Even if the character was just saying hello, I would make it so detailed. I'd do hand movements, facial expressions, like why they would be saying hello to this person in what kind of way, just so detailed, because that is just what the drama exam likes from people. Maybe also do just read the text a couple times so you do get familiar with where key scenes are, because the exam is open book, so you have the text with you, which means that you don't have to memorize quotes as such, but just remembering where key scenes are, so you don't have to spend like 5 minutes finding that one scene that you think you might know where it is but you actually don't. So, and then we have the live theatre review. So my class went to go see the musical Everybody's Talking About Jamie, really good, and then we also watched on Digital Theatre Plus Things I Know to Be True. I think I ended up writing about Things I Know to Be True because it's a bit easier to talk about in my opinion. With a musical you have songs in the way that like are quite key moments, but they're in song, so it's hard to write about in a drama exam. And then with Things I Know to Be True, because it's not a musical, the acting isn't as melodramatic, it's a bit more naturalistic and toned down, even though both are naturalistic and non-naturalistic in their own ways. The way I revised for this, again, I used the terminology flashcards because they're very important, but I also had a set of flashcards for the actual play that I saw itself. So on the front I'd have the very first card, which was always like the cast, because one thing that's really good in a live theatre review is if you can talk about the actor and not the character. For example, you should say Leighton Williams did this rather than Jamie did this, because that's showing what the actor's doing rather than what the character's doing. When I first started doing drama, I thought that it was literally going to be a review, like I really liked this play because it says live theatre review, but it's not like that. It's more kind of just analysing the play again. So the question could be, for example, explain how one or more characters uses physicality to show dominance to the audience, I don't know, something like that. And then you would just have to analyse it. So you do need to know quotes from your chosen play or musical. I used flashcards again to memorise quotes. So at the top I kind of write where the scene or act was set, and then I would have the description of the scene below that, and then on the back I'd have kind of how the actors did that and what it resulted in the audience, because that's also very important. You have to talk about the effect of the actors on the audience. So I would just go through that, remembering the quotes, remembering the exact details of what the actors were doing, down to like their hand movements. It's got to be really detailed, guys. And then the way I revised overall for all 3 sections was just past papers. Keep doing past papers if you find that you're struggling either with the content or the time constraints, because as I said, so in my mock I got a 3 and I was just devastated because I really wanted to do well in drama, because although I didn't like the subject, I like drama itself, and so I was really sad. So after that, I did a practice paper to try get better. I sent it to my teacher. She didn't have time to mark it, but she said to me, like, that is really going to help boost your grade and you'll have a better idea. And she skimmed through it and she said it was like a way better improvement from my last one. And then I'm pretty sure that's why in my final mock, which probably really fed into my final grade, I did really well, because I'd just done practice papers all the way through and really just focused on what I need to get better at, which was just putting in more detail. That's everything to do with the theory part of drama, and now we are on to the actual acting bit. So you have your scripted and your devised. Scripted is where you do your own rendition of a pre-existing play, but you can't really change that many things. You kind of do have to stick to obviously the characters, how the characters act, and where the scenes are set. I mean, you can just like shuffle it around a tiny bit, but not like a lot. So it is just kind of reenacting an already existing play. I don't really have that many tips for this one, to be honest, because it is just like acting and I'm not really sure what to say about that. I think my biggest tip for like good acting is just to remember that you are always on stage, obviously unless you're not, but even if you're not talking, you are still on the stage, and that means that anyone could be looking at you at any point in time. I do this all the time when I go to like the West End. If it's a major production, I'll just like look at the side characters, because more often than not they're doing something funny in the background that you wouldn't normally notice, but if you are looking at them, they're doing something, and it just makes the whole play come more alive, because it's like, oh, these people aren't actors, they're actual people doing their own thing, not necessarily always listening to what the main character is saying, if you get what I mean. So just always be in character. So my scripted play was The Memory of Water, and I played Catherine, who's one of the three sisters. She's very clumsy, she's very loud, she doesn't really like listening to other people, but she wants them to listen to her. So anytime I wasn't speaking, I'd just be like, I don't know, rummaging through some clothes, like absent-mindedly flicking through some books, and I think that just like makes it so that your character just comes alive. They're doing their own thing, not always revolving around other characters, and I think that's probably my best tip. And then finally we have your devised, which is where you can create your own play. So I have to say, my teacher really hyped this up. This is why I was so excited to do GCSE drama, and then it actually wasn't that fun. I guess the process of creating it was kind of fun, but there's this thing called the devising log, which I'll get into, and it's just the worst thing in the world. So basically, with Devised, you can do anything you want really, as long as it's connected to a set of stimuli, but that connection can be super weak. I don't even remember my original stimuli, which kind of shows how it really doesn't have to revolve around that exact stimuli. Like if you have a photo of a dog, your play doesn't have to be about a dog. Like it can literally be really unconnected, as long as you kind of like make a slight connection, but honestly it can be super weak. So for example, I think mine was a song about school bully, and we went from school bully to like grief to guilt or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, they're not really that connected, but you get what I mean. After you pick your stimuli, that's when you just get creating. You can choose any theme you want, you can do deviate any practitioner you want. I don't think it has to have a practitioner if you don't want it to be, but I think that will probably give you a bit more marks if you mention who you're kind of basing it off on. But anyways, so you just make that yourself. I'm sure teachers will give you like more in-depth guidance on that, dependent on how they want you to do it. But the thing that everyone has to do if you are doing AQA GCSE drama is a devising log. I think you can do a video, but my teacher made us like all do written, so this is tips for the written one. Explain why you are doing everything, literally everything. I got 80% in my devising log, which isn't bad, but I wanted to do better, so I asked my teacher how I could have improved, and she was like, oh, it was really good. And I was like, well, what could I have done better? And she just told me that maybe just add some more detail. I added, because after everything I did, so we decided to put this scene first because we decided to put this character's monologue here because we decided to have this character say this because Just explain why you're doing everything, because apparently that's how I could have improved, even though I thought I'd already done that, but just so much detail. Again, that's the one word of this video, detail. And that's all about what I have to say for GCSE drama. Obviously I had more tips for the actual theory side than the real acting, devised and scripted side, but if you do have any questions that I didn't answer, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I'll try and get to them as soon as I can. I really hope the tips that I did give though helped you out, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys!